Living in that old trailer wasn't easy. Every morning I'd wake up to the sound of birds and my dog Rocky scratching at the door, wanting his walk. The metal walls creaked in the wind, and during winter the heater barely kept up. But I had a plan. Save every penny I could, work my ass off, and finally get that small piece of land I'd been dreaming about since leaving the city. 10 years flew by faster than I expected. The city life I left behind, the crowded streets, the endless rat race, the astronomical rent, it all felt like a distant memory. Out here in the woods with just Rocky for company, I learned to appreciate the quiet. Sure, it got lonely sometimes, especially during those long winter nights when the snow piled up outside my door. But I kept reminding myself this was temporary, just a stepping stone. When I finally saved enough to move into town, it felt like coming up for air after being underwater too long. Simple things like having neighbors, walking to the local diner for coffee, chatting with folks at the hardware store, it made me feel human again. That's where I met Kali, at the Blue Moon Diner through some mutual friends. She was still with someone else then, but there was something about her that drew me in. The way she laughed, how she'd get lost in thoughts staring out the window, her stories about wanting to travel. After her relationship ended, we started seeing each other. The first few months were like something out of a movie, late night drives, endless conversations, making plans for the future. But then came the fights, the breakups, the tearful reunions. One week we'd be talking about buying a house together, the next she'd be gone, not answering my calls. 4 years of this back and forth wore me down, but I couldn't let go. Each time she came back, I convinced myself this time would be different. This time we'd make it work. My dream of a simple, stable life seemed both so close and so far away. I hit the road in my beat-up RV after our last fight, leaving Rocky with my cousin back in town. The old engine rattled as I crossed through mountains and forests, putting miles between me and all that pain. Found myself parking at these little campgrounds, meeting other drifters who'd left their own troubles behind. 3 weeks into my wandering, I stumbled on this perfect piece of land near a lake, 10 acres, mostly wooded, with a cleared spot that would fit a small house. The price was right too. I took photos, got the realtor's card, started imagining a fresh start. But Kali's calls kept coming. At first I let them go to voicemail. Her messages went from angry to desperate to soft and pleading. After 2 months on the road, I figured I'd at least hear her out before making any decisions about the lake property. Rolling back into town, I parked at our usual spot by the river. Kali was already there waiting, looking smaller somehow. When she saw me, her eyes welled up. I fucked up, Rowan. I know that now. These months without you, she wiped her face with her sleeve. I want what you want. A real life together. Kids, a home, all of it. My chest tightened. How many times had we been here? But something felt different. The way her hands shook as she pulled out a folder. Look, she said, spreading out papers on the RV's fold-out table. I've been saving. Found a better job at the bank. Started therapy. She showed me bank statements, appointment cards, rental listings she'd circled. I wanted to be careful, protect myself. But seeing her there, actually making plans instead of just promises. I know you probably don't believe me, she said. But I'm ready. Really ready this time. The lake property flashed through my mind, but looking at Kali, I saw all those years of dreams, our dreams now maybe. I reached across the table and took her hand. Okay, I said. Let's try. The seasonal work kicked in as spring approached. Long days under the sun, hauling equipment, and maintaining properties. It was exhausting but honest work that paid well. I'd explained to Kali about my winter commitment to help Dad on the farm months ago, but she seemed to have forgotten or chosen not to hear it. 3 whole months? That's like a quarter of the year, Kali said, pacing our kitchen. Can't your dad hire someone? It's not just about the help. He's getting older, and I promised him years ago. Every winter, same deal. She crossed her arms, leaning against the counter. And what about us? I'll drive back every other weekend. It's only a few hours away. The first 2 months went better than expected. Our weekend reunions felt special, almost like dating again. Kali seemed more stable, holding down her job at the diner and keeping up with therapy. She'd text me pictures of apartment listings she'd found, talking about our future. Things felt right. I started browsing engagement rings online during my breaks. Found this perfect vintage piece with a small diamond, nothing flashy, but it reminded me of her. Had it all planned out. I'd proposed by the lake where we had our first real date. right when the spring flowers started blooming. Then came that conversation about her brother's wife, Sarah. Poor thing's been struggling. Callie said one weekend while we were having coffee. She made a mistake with some guy from work. But she loves my brother, and what he doesn't know won't hurt him. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Wait, she cheated on him. It was just once. She feels terrible about it. And you're keeping this from your own brother? Callie shrugged. It's not my place to wreck their marriage. Sarah's my friend too. The ease with which she justified hiding such a betrayal hit me hard. That engagement ring started feeling heavier in my mind, like a weight pulling me down into doubts I thought we'd left behind. I couldn't shake the unease when Callie told me not to come home that weekend. Something in her voice felt off when she claimed to be sick. I offered to bring her soup, maybe watch some movies together while she recovered, but she kept insisting she needed space to rest. That whole weekend, her phone went straight to voicemail. No texts, no calls, nothing. Monday came around and she finally responded with some story about dropping her phone in the washing machine. Farm work kept me busy enough not to dwell on it, but doubt crept in like weeds through concrete. The following weekend, I pulled up to her place. She practically bounced off the porch to greet me, showering me with kisses and attention. It felt theatrical. Like she was trying too hard to convince both of us everything was fine. We sat by the fire pit that evening, sharing a bottle of whiskey. The flames cast dancing shadows across her face as she talked about her week, her words tumbling out faster with each drink. That's when Brad's name slipped out. Who's Brad? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh, just this guy from work. We all went out for drinks after closing last Thursday. She waved her hand dismissively, but wouldn't meet my eyes. The whiskey hit her hard. She passed out on the couch around midnight, her phone falling from her loose grip onto the cushions. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at it. Every principle I had about trust and privacy screamed at me to leave it alone. But Sarah's story about cheating on Carly's brother kept echoing in my head. My hands shook as I picked up her phone. The passcode hadn't changed since she'd shown it to me months ago. Messages from Brad filled the screen. My stomach turned to ice as I scrolled through weeks of late-night texts, deleted plans, and photos that confirmed every fear I'd been trying to ignore. I confronted Carly the next morning. My hands shook as I placed her phone on the kitchen table. Screen lit up with those damning messages to Brad. The color drained from her face, then quickly turned to rage. You went through my phone. What the fuck is wrong with you? She snatched it up, clutching it to her chest like a shield. What's wrong with me? I saw the messages, Carly. You've been sleeping with him this whole time I was away. It was one time. One stupid mistake because you left me here alone for months while you played farmer with Daddy. Her words hit like a slap. I needed that work to save for our future, the future she claimed she wanted too. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. I couldn't look at her anymore. Where are you going? You can't just leave. I slammed the door behind me and made it halfway to my truck before my phone rang. It was Carly's mother, her voice frantic. You need to come back right now. Carly hurt herself. My stomach dropped. I raced back inside to find Carly curled up on the bathroom floor, sobbing, a bloody towel wrapped around her forearm. Her mother hovered nearby, shooting me accusatory glances. I'm so sorry, Carly choked out between sobs. It only happened once, I swear. I was drunk and lonely and stupid. Please don't leave me. I sank down beside her, anger giving way to a hollow ache in my chest. She looked so small, so broken. Maybe it really was just once. Maybe we could fix this. I'll do anything, she whispered, clutching my shirt. I'll prove you can trust me again. Just please don't give up on us. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her tears soak through my shirt. All those dreams of our future together, the house by the lake, the family we'd build, I couldn't let them go. Not yet. Okay, I heard myself say. We'll try to work through this. Her grip tightened around me, but something felt different now. Like I was holding onto a shadow of what we used to be. After everything that happened with Brad, I wanted to give us a real chance to reconnect. My stepfather's summer home seemed perfect, peaceful, away from distractions, just the two of us. I spent the whole day setting it up, bought her favorite wine, cooked dinner, even scattered rose petals like some cheesy romance movie. When Carly showed up 2 hours late, she could barely walk straight. The smell of vodka hit me before she even got through the door. She stumbled in carrying a bag full of bottles, giggling about how we needed to properly celebrate. I tried salvaging the evening, suggesting we eat first since I'd made her favorite pasta, but she was already sprawled on the couch, taking swigs straight from a bottle of tequila. My carefully planned dinner got cold while I watched her spiral further. "You're so good to me," she slurred, trying to pull me down for a sloppy kiss. Not like others. "Joe always says I don't deserve you." My blood ran cold. "Who's Joe?" She froze for a split second before laughing it off. "Just this guy from work. Nobody important." But I knew that look, the same one she had when I confronted her about Brad. While she was in the bathroom, I reached for her phone on the coffee table. She must have seen me from the hallway because suddenly she was screaming, snatching it away. "What, you don't trust me? After everything?" She was crying now, mascara running down her face. "You're just like everyone else." I tried explaining that her behavior tonight wasn't helping build trust, but she wasn't listening. She was already on her phone, furiously typing. "I'm not staying here with someone who doesn't trust me," she spat, grabbing her purse. "My Uber will be here in 5 minutes." I stood in the doorway watching tail lights disappear down the dark road, leaving me alone with half-empty bottles, cold food, and the sinking feeling that I'd been fooling myself about this second chance. I couldn't sleep that night, tossing and turning with questions burning in my mind. The name Joe kept popping up in fragments of conversations I'd overheard. At 3 a.m. I opened Facebook and found him. Mutual friends made it easy. My thumb hovered over the message button before I finally pressed it. "Hey man, I know this is weird, but I need to know what's been going on with Callie." The response came faster than expected. Joe's message history unfolded like a punch to the gut. Dates, times, places, all matching perfectly with Carly's sick days and girls' nights out. My hands shook as I scrolled through months of deception. The next morning, my phone exploded with angry texts from Carly. "How dare you message Joe? Do you know how embarrassing that is? You're acting crazy and paranoid." Her reaction told me everything I needed to know. The pieces clicked into place, the late nights, the sudden mood swings, the defensive behavior over her phone. I'd been such a fool. Yet somehow she still managed to rope me in. "It's my birthday this weekend," she pleaded. "Let's start fresh. I want to prove to you that I'm serious about us." I agreed, against my better judgment. The birthday celebration started at a local bar. I watched as Carly disappeared to the bathroom multiple times with her friends, returning each time more energetic, her pupils dilated. The white powder use shocked me. In our entire relationship, I'd only seen her do it once or twice at parties. When she passed out later that night, I finally got into her phone. What I found made me physically sick. Messages with Brad, Joe, and at least 4 other guys. Explicit photos, meet-up arrangements, lies coordinated to cover her tracks. Everything dated back to when I'd left for the farm work. The messages painted a picture of someone I didn't recognize, someone who'd turned my absence into an opportunity for complete chaos. She hadn't just cheated, she'd created an entire alternate life while I worked to build our future. After discovering the full extent of Khalil's betrayal at her birthday party, something snapped inside me. The rage wasn't hot and explosive, it settled like ice in my veins. 10 years of working my ass off, living in that cramped trailer, saving every penny. All for what? To be played like a fool. I made a cold decision. My work contract had another month left. I'd pretend everything was fine, act like the forgiving boyfriend she expected me to be. Then I'd vanish without a trace, leaving her wondering and hurting like she'd hurt me. My brother Mike caught wind of my plan during our weekly call. "That's not you, man. You're better than this revenge bullshit." "You don't understand," I growled into the phone. "She destroyed everything I worked for." "No. You're destroying everything you work for. This plan, it's eating you up inside. I can hear it in your voice." Even my best friend Tony tried to talk sense into me over beers. "Dude, you're letting her turn you into someone you're not. Just walk away now with your head held high." But I couldn't listen. Every time I thought about those messages, those photos, the lies, the rage would consume me again. I'd lie awake at night plotting my exit, imagining her pain when she realized I was gone for good. When I finally finished my contract and returned to town, Carly insisted on throwing a welcome home party at her brother's place. I knocked back whiskey after whiskey, trying to keep up the act, trying to drown out the voice screaming inside my head. The alcohol amplified everything instead. Every fake smile from Carly felt like a slap. Every time she touched me made my skin crawl. When she cuddled their baby nephew, playing the perfect aunt, something in me snapped. How many guys were there really? I slurred, loud enough to wake the baby. How many times did you fuck around while I was working my ass off? Kalai's face went white. Her brother stepped between us as she grabbed her purse and fled. I stumbled after her through the streets to her house, shouting everything I'd bottled up for weeks. She slammed the door in my face. My stuff is still in there. I pounded on the door. When she didn't answer, I kicked it in with a splintering crash. The neighbors must have called the cops. Next thing I knew, I was in handcuffs, being read my rights while Kali watched from her porch. The rage drained away, leaving nothing but shame as they put me in the back of the patrol car. The next day, hungover and humiliated, I went back to fix her door. She watched silently as I worked, arms crossed. "Just tell me the truth," I said quietly. "I deserve that much." "I already told you everything," she insisted, but couldn't meet my eyes. Even now, even after I'd hit rock bottom, she couldn't give me honesty. I finished fixing the door without another word, realizing just how far I'd fallen from the man I used to be. After everything that happened with Kali, I threw myself into work, spending extra hours at my father's farm, even though the season was winding down. My brother Mike invited me to his friend's wedding, insisting I needed to get out more. I almost didn't go, but something told me I should. The ceremony was beautiful, held in an old barn converted into a venue. During the reception, I found myself at the bar next to a woman in a blue dress. She caught me staring at my phone, another message from Kali that I was trying to ignore. "Ex-problems?" she asked, a knowing look in her eyes. That's how I met Angel. We talked for hours that night, missing most of the dancing. She told me about her own toxic relationship, how she'd moved here to start fresh. Every story she shared about her ex felt like she was reading pages from my life with Kali. "It's like they have a radar," Angel said, stirring her drink. "The moment you start feeling okay, they sense it and swoop back in." Something clicked in my mind. All those times Kali had reached out just when I was starting to move forward, it wasn't coincidence. Angel helped me see patterns I'd been blind to. We started meeting for coffee regularly. Angel never judged me for the mess with Kali, just listened and shared her own experiences. She taught me about setting boundaries, something I'd never been good at. My phone buzzed less frequently now that I'd stopped responding to Kali's messages. I focused on work, started fixing up my trailer, even adopted another dog. Life felt lighter. But Kali always found ways to creep back in. She'd show up at places she knew I'd be, send messages through mutual friends about how much she'd changed. Each time I felt that familiar pull, the urge to believe her again. Angel's words would echo in my head. "They only show you what you want to see." Every time Kali sensed me slipping away, she'd find new ways to reel me back. A crisis, an apology, a reminder of our good times. But now, with Angel's friendship, I could see these attempts for what they were. I avoided checking my phone when Kali's message popped up. 3 days later, curiosity got the better of me. The words on the screen hit close to home. She'd joined Aya, working through her steps, making amends. Just like Dad did 15 years ago. "I know I hurt you," she wrote. "I want to make things right." Meeting her at the diner brought back memories. She looked different, clear eyes, steadier hands. She spoke about her sponsor, her meetings, the work she was doing on herself. The familiar pull tugged at my chest when she reached across the table. "Your dad's recovery inspired me. Remember how proud you were when he got his 5-year chip?" Angel's reaction was immediate when I told her, "She's playing you. Again. Using your father to get under your skin." But Kali's texts kept coming. Stories about rough days, moments of temptation, seeking advice. Soon it was daily calls, asking to meet for coffee, needing someone who understood. I found myself making excuses to Angel, downplaying the increasing frequency of Kali's presence in my life. The line between supporting her recovery and falling back into old patterns grew hazier with each conversation. "I couldn't have done this without you," Kali would say, her hand lingering on my arm. Each time I'd feel the familiar guilt, both for letting her closer and for hiding it from Angel. I ignored Kali's first few calls. Each voicemail grew more desperate, painting a darker picture of her life with Eric. Angel warned me not to get involved, but those messages gnawed at my conscience. Late one Tuesday night, my phone lit up with Kali's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Please, you have to help me. Eric's going crazy. He's threatening to kill me." Her voice trembled between sobs. "Have you called the police?" "I can't. Please, just come get me. I'm scared." 20 minutes later, I pulled up to her apartment. Kali stumbled down the steps, clearly intoxicated. No sign of Eric. No signs of violence. Just Carly, clutching a half-empty bottle. The drive to my place was tense. Her hand kept finding its way to my thigh. I brushed it off each time. "You're so good to me," she slurred. "Not like Eric. You still love me, don't you?" "I'm helping because it's the right thing to do. That's all." At my house, she tried to kiss me. I stepped back, maintaining distance. "You can sleep on the couch. I have work early tomorrow." The next morning, I left her passed out on my couch. When I returned that evening, empty bottles littered my coffee table. Callie had raided my liquor cabinet. Angel showed up shortly after, having heard through mutual friends that Callie was staying with me. "What the hell are you doing?" Angel demanded. "She's playing you again." She said Eric was threatening her. And you believed her. After everything. Callie emerged from the bathroom, mascara smeared across her face. "Oh great, it's the girlfriend." "I'm leaving," Angel said. "But you're a fool, Rowan. A goddamn fool." A week later, Angel reluctantly agreed to check on Carly with me. We found her apartment door unlocked. Inside, Joe sat on the couch, looking as defeated as I once felt. "Hey man," Joe said quietly. "Been meaning to talk to you actually." Carly was nowhere in sight. Joe and I stepped outside while Angel waited in the car. "I'm sorry about everything that went down," Joe said, lighting a cigarette. "She told me you two were done. Told everyone that." "Yeah, she did that a lot. She's been cheating on me too. With Eric, with some guys from the bar. It's like she can't help herself." The irony wasn't lost on me. Here was the man who helped destroy my relationship, trapped in the same cycle I'd escaped. Callie appeared, swaying slightly. Her eyes lit up at the sight of me. "My two favorite guys," she giggled. Then looked at Angel in the car. "Hey, why don't we all go inside? Have some fun. The four of us?" I felt sick. "We're leaving." "Come on, baby. For old time's sake." Angel honked the horn. I turned and walked away, Joe's sympathetic gaze following me. That night, I made my decision. I'd been saving for land on Whidbey Island. It was time to go. I packed up my life, said goodbye to friends and family, and disappeared without telling Carly. 3 months of peace followed. I found work at a local nursery, started building a tiny house. Then came the text. "I'm on the island. Getting sober. Can you give me a ride to the ferry?" Against my better judgment, I agreed. One last act of kindness. She was waiting outside a rundown motel, looking thinner than ever. "Can we stop for beer first?" "No." "Please?" I'm shaking. "The ferry's that way." I pointed down the road. "Walk if you need to drink." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and shuffled away. I watched her go, this ghost who'd haunted me for so long. Finally seeing her clearly. She wasn't the woman I'd loved. Maybe she never was. She was just an emptiness walking around in human form, consuming everything and everyone in her path. I found myself settling into a quiet routine on the island. The morning started with Rocky and me walking along the beach, watching the ferry cut through the morning fog. The salt air cleared my head in ways the mainland never could. My small rental cottage needed work, but fixing things gave me purpose. I spent weekends repairing loose shingles and painting weathered siding. The physical labor felt good, different from the crushing exhaustion of trying to save someone who didn't want saving. Angel called most weekends. We'd talk for hours about nothing and everything. She understood the weight I'd carried, having escaped her own toxic relationship years ago. When memories of Callie surfaced, Angel helped me see them clearly, not through the rose-colored lens I'd worn for so long. "Remember when you thought her joining IA was a sign?" Angel asked during one call. "You wanted so badly to believe she'd change, just like your dad did." She was right. I'd been in love with potential, with the dream of the life I thought we could have. The white picket fence, the Sunday dinners, the stability I craved, none of it matched who Callie really was. My phone stayed quiet these days. No more 3 a.m. crisis calls or tearful voicemails. Instead, I filled my time with things that brought me joy. Teaching Rocky new tricks, joining a local softball league, trying my hand at woodworking in the garage. For the first time since moving to that old trailer a decade ago, I felt truly at peace. The future stretched out before me, wide open and full of possibility. Not the suffocating possibility of maybe this time will be different, but real, honest potential. I didn't need to save anyone anymore. I just needed to live. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed the story, remember to like, subscribe, and comment on the video for more stories like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. If you have any similar stories to share, leave them in the comments and we'll make sure to bring them to life. Thanks for watching.